Well, you ready for some sports?
Hopefully.
There it is, Victor Allen's new Sportz. Written and directed by the bald-headed black man, his unique fan-based view of sports, a recurring segment of the Morning Club with Mario show. And here it is, from the man that the ladies have nicknamed Sexual Chocolate. Rub his head and make a wish. Everybody, here's Vic. It's time for sports. Yeah! Yeah! All right.
You don't scream that loud for Marijuana for Dummies.
No.
What's up, people? I know this is going to be hard because a lot of people are seeing my back post at the time, so I hate to ignore my Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Big O Live, Live.me, fam, but hey, welcome anyway. I'm looking at you. I want to start off with a little bit of sad news this morning first because it just came in early this morning that Terry Glenn, former New England Patriot, Dallas Cowboy, Green Bay Packer, died in a car accident. He's 43. Blessings to his family. Kind of chimed in, so it's kind of freshly new. We don't know any other details on it, but hey, you always give respect to those because hey, look, you know, that's a life gone, and there's family and everybody else that's involved. So, want to just give that recognition. The good thing about what I quoted on those teams, each team he played was a power player. Green Bay, Dallas, and then I believe he has a New England Patriot championship with him. So hopefully his legacy lives on, and prayers and blessings to his family. Going to kick off a little bit different, not the usual suspects and sports, because you can't help it when Trump is trumping all over the community. Want to sit back and also, before I do that, is give an acknowledgement to Damian Woody. He actually chimed in on the passing of course, Terry Glenn. So, hey, to his former teammate, passed away this morning due to a car accident, praying for his family. Just wanted to give recognition. He was one of the earlier messengers to find out about it. But to go back to Trump, okay, this is going to be interesting because I just, I already know that, okay, LeVar Ball did not acknowledge or he disrespected Trump. We understand that because somebody posed the question, hey, how do you feel about Trump saying he got the players released? And LeVar's response was, who? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to laugh, but that was his response. And from that, we are now getting into a place where Trump basically said, I should have left him in China in jail. Now, before we even go any further, before I go any further, my question is, first of all, if any other Americans, period, not associated with college sports or professional sports, if they were caught stealing in designer stores or what have you, would they still be over in China right now? Or would it be based on if their family has a lot of money, a lot of connections? And it's really getting to the part that I'm saying. The powerful get the powerful, resources, and those who are less fortunate suffer.
It would be like it is here, but just more so there.
Right.
In other words, when you're here, this is the kind of stuff where money gets you off.
Right.
You never get charged.
No, you don't.
So they let you go home either from the mall or the police. They just let you go. Now, when you're black, this is where they also take it to another level.
Right.
So, usually. But for the average white person, no, they're not going to do jail for this.
Right.
But the average black person, they're probably going to do jail.
Now, all the players in this come from different angles. First of all, sometimes you look for a place to be able to say, I already know what's going to happen when I say something about this family. And in other words, if Trump goes and his people around and says, okay, you know what's going to happen. That's LeVar Ball. So we know that he's basically saying, I'm about to light the fuse. On the other hand, LeVar is going, I have gone from a simple father in Chino Hills to going to a place that the Kardashians, or Kardashian, as I have a friend who always corrects me, have been. I am now on the world stage. What people used to know my name within the circle, I have now gone on a global tangent. Had I said, I want to thank him, would he be getting the same coverage if he said, yes, I do want to thank him because he did put in the word. And even if he didn't put in the word, I want to thank him. Would that be just going, oh, you're not going to get no play? Don't say that. It's better to sit back and be a contrast and let him stir the pot up. Which one do you give credit to? Trump jumping in because he knew it was going to happen?
He's an idiot, but I think that even in this instance, when the idiot gets you out of troubles in China, if he did, and there's some questions of that, but
right.
Let's just assume he did.
Right.
Then you can give him a short,
right.
to the point, thank you,
right.
without any additional stuff, and that's what I would advise.
Yeah, and I would have said, look.
I'd be curious what the chat room and all the Facebook people say in response to that. But I'm not saying you have to kiss his ass, but I'm saying if you're the beneficiary of something as big a deal as this, you can give him, say, I thank the president for this. It doesn't change the fact that the president's an asshole.
Well, let me here's the part where I'm going. These are fortunate kids, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing,
UCLA for one.
Right. Now, let me say what I'm not trying to sit back and say, are all these positions from China, Trump, LeVar, and the UCL players fortunate because they are surrounded by power representation, so they get to play this game. They get to sit back, and the biggest story becomes a slight story. So say if these players were in Las Vegas and they were caught stealing out here, the framing of the story would be totally different. Right now, the concern is not as much about them stealing. The focus is now on Trump and LeVar.
Exactly.
So it's taken away from where you could sit up here and say, imagine, which I'm not endorsing whatsoever. Imagine that you go and do something at such a level that if politically, if we didn't have the relationships with China, and I believe China's sitting up there going, we can leverage all kinds of things. This is not enough to get anything from. Wow. We're going to leverage the UCLA players to say, no, we abide by our rules. Excuse me, not enough weight on this. So let's just stay out of this. It's bigger fish to fry. So right now, the players who are suspended, and I don't know for how long. Because
indefinitely.
Yes, and I don't know how long. Now we're only talking about, was Trump making a smart move? Because it's easy to know who's going to rebel against you.
Oh, it was a smart move on his part.
Yeah.
Him doing whatever or trying to take claim for it, assuming he did it, it makes all the sense for him.
Absolutely. To sit there and simply go like this. I am glad the players are now returning to the U.S. to their homes, and hopefully they'll learn a lesson. Blah, blah, blah. You don't get enough traction off of that. You got to do something else. So I'm saying that both of these, I call one's head of family, one is head of our country, can't help but to get the shine. They need the shine. They want the shine. And right now, I believe LeVar has won because he's elevated himself to a global name. Just right now, just jumping up and having the president do that, they carried the story in many other areas. All right, I'm going to go to one right now where this one is interesting. One time, hey, look, early in the year, we was talking about the coming of the Raiders, right? And right now, we're talking about the flopping of the Raiders. But you got Marshawn Lynch, who basically, when they played the game in Mexico against New England, New England cleaned house on the Raiders. They looked like the Raiders that we used to be used to 3 or 4 years ago. Marshawn sits during the national anthem, but stands during the Mexico anthem. Okay, now I'm one of those people, Mario, that sit there and say, okay, you can make your statement. Did he step a little too far on this one? Because one, he hasn't lived in Mexico. 2, he's basically just going, I'm shoving this in your face. Or 3, he's going like this. I'm about to put my name into a prominent position, but I also don't know if it's going to work because we're losing. And when you lose, people probably don't care. Does this hit less because the Raiders are losing?
Yes, but it still hits. and it's still a big deal.
Yep.
And I still support him in the sense of him being able to express himself, especially regarding this issue.
Right.
Again, depending upon your miseducation on this issue,
Right.
which unfortunately is a lot of people,
Yes.
it may lead you to believe wrongly
Mm.
that because this protest, which people have misinterpreted as being
It is unfolded.
anti-military,
Right. Absolutely. Or they're trying to direct.
and I
it.
can make the argument with that, with the national anthem having the racist words that it does,
Right.
that no one of color.
Right.
Okay.
Regardless.
Until you change it. How about this? Change the anthem.
Right.
Take out the racist words, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
But again, if this is the United States of America, I have a choice.
Well, yeah.
And I don't believe in pledging allegiance to governments anyway. I think that is something that causes Hitler and other folks. You don't need to pledge allegiance to governments.
Right.
Pledge allegiance to ideals.
Right.
Pledge, like I say, I'm a citizen of the universe. I pledge my allegiance to God.
Right.
And then I don't need to have allegiance to anybody else.
Right. Right.
Okay, I can just do that. And that'll help me to make the right decisions.
Right.
Okay, so all of that. This is what Nazis do. They want you to stand and salute them and all
Right.
that. Get over it.
Right.
Get over it.
Part of it is that
Cheeto needs to get over it.
the flag represents a multi-dimensional, I guess you can say, cornucopia of diversity, historically and currently and moving forward. People tend to pluck out the points that they say, well, it's more for this. The most important point happens to be the one that they always want to remind you of, which you should be, because our ancestors, black, white, or otherwise, died defending this country in many different eras. So at this time, I'm not focusing on the one point more so. What I'm trying to do is say, what's the message that Marshawn is sending when he says, I'm going to stand for the Mexico national anthem? That's one statement versus I'm sitting. When he stood for it, he says, I'm all for Mexico and what it does for its people and what it represents as it relates to my experience with them. Is that the message he's sending?
No, I think I don't think that's the message. I think that's what they would try to make this seem like it represents. It does not.
Right.
You could stand for the anthems for other countries without crossing your heart or anything. You can
Right.
stand as a simple show of respect
Right.
for protocol.
Right.
Okay, which you would have normally done here in the U.S., except we're in the midst of a protest.
Absolutely.
It doesn't change any of that.
Right.
So it makes sense to me.
Right.
You could be standing for everybody's anthem. It could be
Right.
the Olympics, and they're playing all the anthems.
Right.
And then when it comes to the U.S. one, sit down.
Right.
You could do all of that.
Right.
And that's because it is about a protest of
Right.
racism.
Okay.
So he doesn't know Mexico. He doesn't.
I know.
I'm not asking him
Well, we don't know.
to do a review
Right.
of every country before he decides whether
Right.
or not to stand. Because the issue is not so much the other countries, but racism here in the U.S. That's the issue.
Absolutely. And look, let me just say this. Sometimes they say you have to cry out loud or demonstrate out loud for the world to hear, because the whole thing is that we're all supposed to be in this melting pot of diversity. And hopefully the message is being sent out across different lanes and experiences that people say, hey, we're standing here. This is what it means for us. Here's what that means for us. And so that's his personal experience. I'm not neither here to tell that it was good or bad. What I try to do is carry the weight of, is he really sitting back saying, look, I'm willing to do this? Because usually when you take stands like this, your family gets affected. When you have children,
Everybody
all
gets
gets really affected. I feel more for children of families because they just don't have the answers. They don't know how to address it.
And I don't
it's
know
hard.
if that means that you shouldn't do it. I'm sure that when people protested in the civil rights movement,
Yeah.
you knew it was affecting your family.
Absolutely.
You either got your mom fired or
Yeah.
your cousin fired.
Oh, yeah.
Because in small towns, they knew the whole family. That Williams group, don't
Right.
hide him. They
Right.
tried that protest. So that's not new.
True that. All right, I just had to cover that for the moment because I think this is going to be ongoing. And I think the weight of Marshawn's stance, although Trump has already chimed in and said, I want the NFL to take action, which is going to be funny because I think this is falling on deaf ears. And I hate to say this, winning tends to give you other passes.
They're falling.
And they're losing
What
badly.
happens is that the NFL is like any other labor movement.
Absolutely.
And so they're subject to labor laws.
Absolutely.
So there's things that have been established in the United States of America
Right.
where your employer is not allowed to penalize you for protest. Now, this was different because of the whole on-air thing and all that. But again, all they have to do is not show it, right?
Yeah, look, I'm
They
going.
have full control over
Look.
the cameras.
Right.
All they have to do is not show it.
If Mario's one day, I know you guys don't want to envision this. Can you, for a moment, for 10 seconds, envision Mario, President of the United States, right now, 10 seconds. That's the president.
I would dress differently. But you all know I fix up well.
You're right. That's the president. So the part that I'm going here is the surprising part of it, in which I've learned that even being here in Los Angeles and even representing West Coast, we're the minority and we're the aliens of the American community as it relates to just our little community here. So I'm very careful in understanding that my opinion only represents a small part. All right, I want to go over to what I call the NFL. Flopping has become a professional consistency among certain teams that I know they're not flopping. I'm just blown away that the turnaround on how well they started out the gate and where they are now.
The fact that
They're just
their records are so poor.
Man, when I say flopping, I'm gonna say flopping. Somebody's gonna say, "Well, that's intentional." I said, "No." I said, "It just looks bad how you're playing." And the teams I'm looking at, Kansas City Chiefs, dude, they're 6-4. Everybody was talking about this is the team. I mean, when they started off, it's almost like duplicating last year. Something's in their soup. They started off undefeated last year, got to near the halfway point.
The Patriots.
Dude. Okay, Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to give them only a little bit because their defense, or what they call the run game, is surrounded by Ezekiel Elliott. But that Ezekiel doesn't play defense. They're at 500. And right now, they lose one more game, they're basically out of it, unless there's a losing streak on the other end. Oakland Raiders, we talked about 4-6. Okay, Mario, when you stepped up this year, did you think Oakland was going to be 4-6?
No.
No.
No one did. There's a bunch of these that no one expected.
With the quarterback.
New York, I think it's a debate whether that or the New York Giants is the most shocking because they've been so bad.
Right.
You can understand it being bad, but not so bad.
Right. And this is, and I'm not, okay, let me just say this. Yes, New York Giants really totally collapsed. And I also believe that sometimes you do have to look at the coaching. There's something missing there, and I'm not sure what it is. I would like to say the players need to step up, but it may be the coaching. Sometimes coaching.
That's at least part of it.
If the Rams can turn around and say, here's a coach, and in less than a year turn around the whole philosophy is this team is playing. Even if they just recently lost against Minnesota, who's just, they look good. They still are overperforming based on what the projections are. So the coach has already instituted a philosophy and a culture. And if I look at Washington Redskins, I thought they would do better. They're under 500. So we know Philadelphia is the team that everybody's projecting. With that being said, would the game far as the playoffs be better served if you had Dallas? Which team in here would you like to see that would stimulate a new frontier of playoff competition? Oakland, Dallas, Kansas City, or Washington? Think about it. I know a team that we haven't gotten to yet.
You would think that the newcomers would be more of it. And so Oakland and Washington were the newcomers. Certainly for Washington, I know in that area, that's a big football area, believe it or not. They show clips of high school football on the news.
Right.
They're big on football.
Oh, yeah.
So in Washington, it's a big deal to have the Redskins do well.
Absolutely. It's a totally different.
Oakland, too, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so those are communities where they feel it. It seems worse than other ones.
Right.
When they're doing poorly.
Yep.
So I'm sure this is hurting.
And I would talk about Jerry Jones' fight with Roger Goodell, but because we don't get enough meat with you guys, here's the part I can't stand. So if there's a fight between Goodell, the Cowboys, and Jerry, the only thing you get is quotes from Jerry. Roger doesn't say anything. So I don't even want to spend this because there's billionaires bitching at each other for whatever reason. That's out of my community, my realm of
even though I
understanding.
was shocked to learn that he made $50 million a year as a salary.
That's right. And wants that private jet, right, for life? Wants a private jet for life? Oh, I like that.
I was
man.
like, that's too much.
Wait a minute. Look, wait a minute.
How did it ever get that high? What did Pete Rozelle make? And whatever that was too high.
Remember now, had Ezekiel not been suspended, they would have allowed this. The only reason why Jerry's pissed off is because of the story, which is somewhat been confirmed, that Roger said, hey, everything's going to be all right with Ezekiel. He won't be suspended. And then turns around and all of a sudden he's suspended. And that was a matter of trust with Jerry. Everybody knows that's the story. So the part of him having a private jet for life, had he had not said anything to counter the Ezekiel Elliott suspension based on what Jerry Jones was hoping for, we would have never known this.
What we think. Okay. Even though, the NFL has to demonstrate consistency. This is a player. This is a contract issue with the union.
Right. Yes, it is.
All of these things. And so they have to show consistency.
Right.
And I'm not as familiar with the exact specifics, but it seems like in today's world, for these type of offenses, suspensions are the rule.
It's the only way to fix your pocket, man. If he gets off with it, they're looking at his conduct and his behavior.
Hey, how about this? You can let him play for free. How about offer him that?
The union's not going to allow that, man.
You can play.
They're not going to do it.
No money.
No, the union's going like this. Oh, so if you go play for free, we got to work for free too, right? They're not going to represent. They ain't going to do it. You get injured, and all of a sudden says, well,
I mean, that's part of this type of this type of a thing.
Yes. Yeah, I got you. Hey, check it out. I didn't hit the AFC because you only have two hopes to compete with New England. I don't think it's New England that's playing superior ball. I just think there's a whole bunch of teams playing subpar ball. You only have Pittsburgh, and the one team that I think could make New England shake in their boots is Jacksonville. One of the best defenses, and everybody knows you play New England. If you don't play man to man, you're going to get ripped apart. So this is the only team that I think right now has the best secondary to play man to man and can disrupt a Tom Brady. That's it. So you only have Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. Why should I talk about it any longer? So I'm going to just swing on over and just say, any team here, Mario, that you have concerns with that is enlighten your perspective on how they played this weekend. And I'm literally sitting here going like this. I just didn't think the Raiders was going to get mopped like that with New England. I just didn't see that coming that bad. That's the only team that got me this weekend.
Well, there you go.
That was it for you. That was it. Okay, cool. All right, swinging over. NBA talk real quick. Boston Celtics are for real. If you guys didn't watch the game with Golden State a few days ago, good game. This team is good. Now, it is hard to measure up regular season. Golden State Warriors on the road. Look, there's no excuse. But they played them man up. They are on a 15-game winning streak without Gordon Hayward. Are they the newcomer? And they're here to stay? You see about 5-6 years of...
It looks like that.
Okay.
It looks good for them. It looks good with time. It looks how they built and structured and went about delivering this team. Young coach.
Yeah.
With a good history.
Right.
The people, I tell you what, the people to be worried are in Cleveland, and they even I'll throw something else in.
What is that?
They need to be worried about LeBron leaving.
Wait a minute.
Because that's what's coming up. I didn't think about it before, but it's coming up.
Because?
After the playoffs in 2018.
Right.
Whatever happens, that's gonna be the number one talk. It may be the number one talk in the playoffs, because if Cleveland either doesn't represent well or doesn't do much in the playoffs, it'll be the talk right then.
Which they've already said. If you look at the lineup if you look at the players and you look what's happening here, you know Dwayne Wade is not going to be there long because, I mean, he's just riding out, getting his next championship. You already got J.R. Smith. He's on the other side of his peak, you know, no matter what. K-Love it's not the K-Love we hope to be. It's hard to repeat what he did, that double-double, all that energy, trying to prove himself that he belonged on the team. Tristan Thompson already showing the wear and tear because he's injured. That doesn't mean he's breaking down. It just means that they just don't have role players the same way, because young legs like the Boston Celtics, this team thrives on playing defense. Cleveland just doesn't have it as it relates to the defensive push. Now, they may be pacing themselves. I believe they are. I believe they're good. Don't wear yourself out in the first half. We're going to bring in the second half. But I do believe you just can't turn it on automatically. I think you have to have this thing where he says, we always rise. It's like the San Antonio Spurs. They said, look, we may not have our best players on the team, but my team will play defense. And if they don't, I'm snatching you off the floor. There's a discipline here. So, So I'm more or less going, the real deal is Boston Celtics. Even if it's not for this year, they look like the team that's basically going to, we don't fear anybody. And then Kyrie just looks like he doesn't have to worry about headlines. He doesn't have to worry about the LeBron headline. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He's in a city where they're sitting up there going like this. I know we really love Isaiah, but we're so glad we got you.
Well, I can understand the move more now, especially as it relates to he wants to do it for a certain part of his career, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand the move more now.
Yeah.
Makes more sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the key is this, and this is just me. Boston looks good and entertaining in such a way that you don't hate on them. I don't have anything like that hate of the Lakers in Boston. I don't know if they're going to return to that anytime in the next decade, because their paths on how they're playing, you just don't get up for it the same way. I will say this, though, just to get away from Boston for a second. Yeah, Lonzo Ball did get his triple-double again. Now, that's a good deal. It's a big deal. I know you guys are micromanaging him because he walked away from a sparring little almost fight in the last game when they played Denver. I'm not micromanaging him. I remember times when I watched Julius Erving, when there were scraps going along with the 76ers, he would just go chill and sit down on the side of the floor and go like, okay, let's get this over. Ain't nobody going to be throwing any punches. Don't fake it. Don't fake the fun. There are people who are going to come to blows. And there are people who are not. So what's the story here is I'm going away from Boston. The Lakers are playing almost better ball than the Los Angeles Clippers. Did Chris Paul say, I know something you guys don't? You may be worried about Lonzo Ball over here and how he plays with the Lakers, but they're playing better and have a better record than the Clippers. Here's my question. Lonzo Ball is getting all the attention, but is Doc Rivers on his way out?
Again, there's a bunch of stories that are now legitimate, and that would be one. I'm with you, Vic. I would say that's in serious question.
Wow, they are.
It's in serious question.
It's all. I'm just putting the question out there. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, it's a serious issue, and I think, for one, the handwriting is on the wall for certain teams for this year. It doesn't mean it's going to be that way, but it certainly seems to be working out that way.
Right.
You have a shift in the leadership, except that Golden State is still there. But other than that, you have a shift.
It is.
And in the East also, you have a shift.
Yeah.
So now we have to see what happens.
Yeah.
OKC looks different.
Yep.
But even with them, look at the numbers, like you said. Look at the numbers. So
I'm just saying, I understand there's parity in a lot of areas because new players, new teams, you have to adjust to that. But there is no adjusting for hustle. And I'm saying right now, when they look at the Clippers, based on who they are, you see this lack of being in positions. And they don't have a true point guard. Patrick Beverly's injured. So all they have is Doc Rivers' son, of course, and Lou Williams, who got to come off the bench. So when you go look at the combined assist ratio to shot production and points, there's no distribution of the ball. So literally you got power forwards, strong forwards, and wannabe centers, if you want to call them that. They basically have to thrive on knowing that, our point guards are only going to be shooting the ball. They won't be distributing the ball. They won't break it down. And it is collapsing. So my whole point is
I don't know how the Clippers' decisions you make you wonder, right? Who's the GM? Who functions?
Well, West is a consultant now.
Right.
So he sees what's happening.
Well, I don't know who's doing what and what their roles are. That's why I'm so curious with West being a consultant.
Right.
Ooh.
I'm just
even though I think to a degree,
right.
That's a plus for Doc Rivers. I think Jerry West would tend to focus on other things to improve the team. But we would have to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I suspect that he would tend to be a Doc supporter. The issue with the Clippers, to me, has been, even more, it's the personnel. There's some real personnel questions.
They are right now third from the bottom at 5-10. It's not on the website. The reason why I didn't put it there, I think you should only pay attention to the teams that's at 500 and above. Why even look at and put the display of the teams underperforming? But just that they're at 5-10. It doesn't look good. Hey, I'm out. Sports over. Till next time, you guys. Peace.
All right, you guys. That's Victor Adler's New Sports, written and directed by the bald-headed black man, a recurring segment of the Morning Coffee with Mario show, written from that unique fan-based view of sports. Join us. Remember to dress appropriately, jock straps, sports bras, bring your foot fungus powder, all the stuff you need. It's sports, people, damn it. Be prepared.